Hi everyone and welcome back to the Colour Cave where we like to play with art stuff. My name is Jem and today we're doing something a little bit different. I would really appreciate your feedback in the comments section as to whether you like this kind of video or whether it's something that holds no interest for you. Because we're actually going to do a book review today and we're going to be reviewing this beauty here. Now, my idea behind doing this kind of video is how many people out there are looking for a way to change direction or get started with a particular medium, and how many of those people actually like to learn from books. I very much enjoy learning from books because I want to get away from using a screen as much as possible these days. So what I would like to do is test out some instructional art books, actually test them out, do one of the exercises to see how good the tutorials are. Now this all came about for me because of the Artful unboxings, and we tried some tutorials in the past Artful boxes, and that taught me that there is a huge difference in the quality and the detail within a tutorial. So that's why I wanted to do this with these books. So anyway, let's get down to business now and take a look at Watercolor with Me in the Ocean by Dana Fox. So the book itself is quite a large format and it measures a hefty 24 centimetres by 24 centimetres, so that's about, conversion brain, 9 and gonna have to go and check this out. 9 inches, I want to say 9 inches. Got a ruler here. I'm gonna have to get better at this. 24, 9 and 9.5 inches. Okay, there we go. 9.5 inches. My bad. Yeah, and the cover of this book is actually made of the same, well, it's coated with the same paper that's actually in the book, and it's quite bobbly. And you can see the design is absolutely adorable on the front. These books are just so lovely. It's printed by Page Street Publishing Company. And the idea behind this is to work on your watercolour technique, but you don't actually have to sketch out the subjects if you don't want to. And that one of the reasons I wanted to start with this book is because this is the kind of book that appeals to more than one type of artist, in that it caters to people at different stages in their art journey, and I'm going to show you why. So if we open up the inside cover here, the illustrations are just lovely. Dana Fox is very well versed. I'll talk a little bit more about her at the end before we start doing any painting. But the idea behind this book is it's a watercolour book, obviously. Look at this wash. It's perfect. Absolutely perfect. But what she has done is she's split the book into sections. So if we take a look at the contents here, you can see that there is an introduction part, obviously. There's a wet on wet section, a wet on dry, and also an ink and wash. So she's actually split it up into different techniques. So perhaps you've dabbled in watercolour, but you want to go for more like an ink and wash, you can just go to that section. So we've got a lovely little introduction here, which I'm just going to read to you because it's quite short. Okay, this is the second book in the Watercolor with Me series. There are 3, I think, as far as I know. This time around, we're diving deep into the ocean to discover a world full of colourful, unique creatures with step-by-step painting instructions to make them come to life. Through this series of 50, yes, 50 watercolour projects, you'll gain the confidence and skill to create beautiful art, whether you're a total beginner or simply looking to expand your creativity. Didn't I just say that? You'll be presented with a faint sketch of each subject on the right-hand page, so we can actually paint inside this book, and details to complete each piece on the left, along with tips, supplies, colour palettes and tools required. Okay, so there is a master colour chart here. So if you're absolutely starting from scratch, these are the colours that she is using. And she also sells some supplies at our Amazon shop, if you want to actually go and buy them. So she's telling you here that everything in this book is done with the Winsor & Newton Cotman paints, which coincidentally I have the full set of. So if you're absolutely starting from scratch, you could actually go and buy these colours, but it also lets you match them up because she swatched them out here for you. If you already have a brand of watercolour, then that's That's great. So she's also talks about supplies that you're going to need as well. Round watercolour brushes in size 2 to 12. You don't even need that, but that's what she's recommending. So you can get yourself completely prepared. And before you even get into the subject, she gives you areas to test out the different techniques. So she's got a whole page on the wet and wet technique and an area for you to try it out, as well as do it on actual subject matter. So here we are into the wet and wet section. Now you can see here that as she said in the introduction, the line work is really faint. So if you do not want to draw things, if you're not any good at sketching, but you want to practice a watercolour painting technique, you can go ahead and go straight in. For those of you that are a little bit more confident, you could actually trace this onto a sheet of watercolour paper if you want to get used to sketching things, or if you're at the stage that I'm at, you can just eyeball it and sketch from Dana's sketch as well, which is a great option if you're a bit further down the road. So I'm just going to show you this sea turtle one as an example of the way that she goes through the steps. So it tells you, there's a little kind of introductory paragraph there, and it's just giving you a quick rundown of how you're going to do it. And then you have your colour chart, so the colours that you're going to need, and the supplies, the suggested supplies. So a round brush, a size 6 works well. So she's saying there that size 6 would be good, but if you don't have one, don't panic. 4 colours of paint, and these are the suggested colours here. A fine detail brush, so a weeny brush, and a black ink pen. So the steps seem quite clear and quite concise, and she's given you this reference image here to help you along your way. So she is letting you know when you have to repeat things, but also when you need to leave things to dry completely before you carry on. So it seems to be that these are quite detailed. Let's have a little look through some of the other ideas here. Humpback whales, and this one's only got 2 colours. Again, a really simple sketch. So if you were feeling a bit braver, you could maybe try sketching this one out rather than any more detailed ones. So we can see here for the wet and wet, there's lots of different ideas here and lots of different did you see it? Oh, the normal. Super cute. And literally using 2 colours of paint. Like, what more could you want in your life? You don't need anything else in your life. So the pages here, this watercolour paper, it's cold press watercolour paper, and it feels quite textured, which I like. It might not be to everyone's taste, but the other option is as well, obviously you can just do it on your watercolour paper of your choice. Oh, she's got manatee as well. That's super cute. So into the next section then is the wet and dry section, and as before, she's given you an area to play about with and test that out. And these are in exactly the same format, so the tutorials are all in the same format, but they're such a lovely, like, she's got seashells and things as well. It's not all fish and sea creatures. Jellyfish, that's a fun one as well. So there's lots of different things going on, and you know, you've got a lot of variety. She's even put a mermaid in. You've got a lot of variety within that sort of ocean theme. And finally, so she's got the ink and wash section as well. It's super cute. I would call this line and wash. It's the same thing. The idea behind it is that you sketch out with a fine liner and then you stick your paint in. So she actually talks about line and wash in quite a bit of detail here as well, so that you can learn something. And again, as before, you've got these sections to try it out. Oh, look at the pirate hat. Okay, so you can see that there's also, again, in the same format as before, so you should be becoming quite familiar with this by now. She's not changed anything. So really nice selection. I love the fact that you can actually do these exercises in the book. You don't have to provide your own paper. So overall, this seems like a really nice, well-rounded book. So about the author, Dana Fox is the author of Watercolor with Me in the Forest. That was the first book. She is an artist and internet savvy entrepreneur who creates artwork for physical and digital products in her home studio in Ontario in Canada. She developed the Wonder Forest brand in 2011 and has since found work on the shelves of Target, Urban Outfitters, Wayfair and Bloomingdale's, to name a few. Her love of creativity is translated into various forms of digital and traditional art, which is demonstrated on her ever-growing YouTube channel. She has a fondness for animals, interior decorating, crochet, web development, and of course watercolour painting. So you can check out her YouTube channel as well. I'll leave that link down in the description for you. And she also has Instagram as well. So she's very, very well versed, and I think these books are in a lovely format, and they feel like good solid books. I'm a bit of a bibliophile, so I'm quite fussy about things like that, but this seems to be a really well put together book. It's bound well as well. So the only thing left to do is to put one of the tutorials to the test and see how we get on. So I'm just going to go and get my paintbrushes and bits and bobs, and we can do some painting. Okay, so I'll set up for a bit of painting now, and I have chosen this sea otter because he's freaking adorable. It just so happens, as I said, I do have the Winsor & Newton Cotman paints, which is the one that Dana has shown you the swatches from throughout the book. So I've got my studio palette here. I've also got some clean water, a synthetic number 6 round paintbrush, because that's what it says works well here. These are really cheap sea white synthetic brushes. I sell these in the stash shop. If you fancy getting your hands on one of these and trying it out, then this is the address for the stash shop here. Head on to that and you can pick yourself up one of these for much cheapness. I've also got a little rag here as well as my paint puck to clean my paintbrush in as we go along. So I'll get zoomed in a little bit. I'm going to try and stay between these. I wonder if I could like put that there so that you can see what's going on here. So this is what we're hoping for in the end up. Whether we get that or not remains to be seen. So first of all, we want burnt umber. Now interestingly, if you look at my burnt umber, which is this one here, that doesn't look like burnt umber to me. That looks remarkably like Indian red or light red. So I think I'm just going to test this out because I don't think that this is accurate at all. Let's look at a scrap of paper from somewhere. Don't know how I feel about that. Doesn't look red enough to me. Yeah, my raw umber looks completely different as well. Like, these do look like completely different paints. They don't on the camera, weirdly. This is very, it might just be the print, but this is not as red as what's going on here. Okay, I'm going to go with these colours though, just to make it nice and easy for myself. Lamp black, which is just it was a plain black, and white as well, which I may or may not use. My white's in pretty poor shape, to be fair. Okay, so I am going to follow these instructions to the letter. I am not going to use any creative license because the aim of this is to decide whether or not this tutorial truly is a tutorial and whether it fulfills the criteria. So using your round brush, fill the body of the otter with clean water, making sure to leave the white belly area dry. Okay, I can do that. So basically everything apart from the belly area. Okay, now I've deliberately picked a wet and wet exercise for this, and it's because I want to test out how well the paper does in this. Because for me, with a watercolour tutorial book, that's going to be the biggest thing, is how good the paper is. And does it make the book worth the money? So I'm going to work a bit more quickly here because the paper does seem to be soaking up the water fairly quickly. So I don't know how well that's going to go. I don't have any puddles, but oh, got a pippy here. Got a pippy here. Okay, so let's just stick some of that in there. Oh, he is super cute, this little guy. And the tail as well. Do you know that otters hold hands when they sleep so they don't float away from their partner? If you didn't know that, you do now, and it's the most cutest thing to watch. Okay, so it says, begin dropping in burnt umber, raw umber and lamp black into the wet area wherever you like. Let the colours blend together. Okay, just because I have watercoloured before, I would like to use the lightest colours first. Doesn't seem to be travelling much. I'm having to make it travel, especially this area up here where I started. It does say whatever I like. Oh, I must have gone over the line with my... Oh, goodness me. Yeah, okay, I'm adding in more water just because that didn't go according to plan at all. Let it spread out a little bit. It's not really doing much spreading. I would have expected the watercolour to be a little bit more mobile. Not really that mobile. Okay, I haven't put any lamp black in either. Now the good thing is about using this synthetic brush, it's got a really good point on it. So I can kind of tidy up my messes here, which is nice. Oh, I forgot about this little foot as well. Oh. Okay, so having dropped the colour in, literally it didn't do an awful lot. But by kind of spreading it about a bit and, you know, messing about, working it a little bit. Oh, this tail looks like a bit of a nightmare. I'll smooth out some of that lamp black a little bit. Okay, not completely dissatisfied with that. I just feel I want to add in a little bit more up here. And maybe down his back here. I just want it to be a little bit more, you know. Okay. So you can see the colour difference there. This one's much redder, but that's just the way of it. Okay, so it's funny because I've kind of automatically done step 3 by myself. Using the very tip of your brush, drag some strokes outside of the body, creating the effect of fur. Well, I suppose it depends which part of his body's out of the water. Because the way he's sitting, he looks as if he's kind of in the water. Okay. Well, I didn't see any lines like that. Oh, okay, they're very subtle, but... Okay, and I've already got this one down here, so that's cool. Create a paint mixture of white and a small amount of raw umber and apply to the belly area. Try not to let the brown body touch the white belly. Do the same for the white face area. So really would be better waiting until that's dried, surely? Just saying. Okay, so the paper is buckling quite a lot right now. Yeah, can you see the marks here? That's just where the paper's buckled. And if I go like this and show you the page, it doesn't actually, it's not too bad because the structure of the spine's holding it together. It's just kind of a bit knobbly bobbly in the middle, which is nice. Can't really complain. I don't think this paper would cope well with lots and lots and lots of layers of water though. Not that it's going to be meant for that, but when you're doing wet and wet, it seems to be fairly good. I'm just not enjoying how much the paint is not travelling on the paper, especially when I'm using the recommended supplies. Anyway, right, while we're waiting for that to dry a little, I'm going to be grabbing some white here. Hopefully, yeah. I don't think I've ever used this white, do you know that? And what am I mixing this with? Small amount of raw umber, really. Raw umber was this one. Okay. To make a sort of biscuity colour. Sorry, I'm just doing this off to the side, guys. I'll show you in the palette. Okay, right, so I've made like a really pale beige colour. And we want that for... Okay, so we want this in the belly area. Oh, that looks really dark. Oh. Oh no, it's touching. Don't touch, don't touch. I know you're not dry. Trying to use my best precision here. How am I supposed to get up in between those paws? With a great deal of patience and skill, clearly. Okay, it says to do the same with the face as well. So yeah. Oh no, I just... Add a small amount of lamp black to the white wet area under the hands for a shadow effect. Oh, okay. So I'm going to take a teeny... I don't trust this black at all. Like, I really don't. So I'm going to try and have, like, the minimist amount on the brush when I do this. And yeah, she's put, like a shadow area in here. Okay, maybe I was being a bit too cautious. There's not... That's just not taste. It is far too wet. It's actually not taking any anything at all. Okay, that's a bit better. I can work with that now. And sort of, whoa, just chucked away my paintbrush. Just sort of work that out a little bit. There we go, that's better. I feel like I need some more umber in here. He looks like, compared to my the reference photo here, I feel like this needs a bit more. Yeah, like there we go. That's a bit more like it. Oh. And maybe he needs a bit more colour in there. Okay, so we're nice and dry now, and the last step says when your otter has dried, use a black ink pen to finish the details on the face, ears and paws. Now, just before we get to that stage, I am not happy with this. I don't think I've got enough layers of paint, and this looks very rich, whereas mine doesn't. So now that that's dried, I'm actually going to go back in and I'm going to go with some more of our burnt umber here and just use that to accent some of the areas. So I'm not covering the entire image again, but I just want this to be a lot richer. So again, now this is where having a reference image like this is really, really helpful. You don't necessarily have to spell it out, but simply by having something to refer to that is actually done, you know, it's not just a sort of printed image. This has already been watercoloured, obviously, by the lovely Dana. I just want to add in a little bit more because I just feel as if I've not got enough paint down. I'm still a bit bummed about the colour difference as well. But yeah, that's a lot better. Okay, so while we're waiting for that to dry, I'm going to grab my black pen. So I have got a 01 Pigma Micron, and I can see that some of our lines are quite pronounced. So I'm going to use my Micron here just to deal with some of that. She's kept this line here. And then we've got toes. We've got toes. Kind of looks a little bit sad. Those was an otter. Oh, we get to fill in his nose here as well, which is a completely different shape to the one that she sketched out. So I'm just following the lines here on the sketch, and you can see that the nose on this one is much more delicate, but that's okay. Oh, he's got whiskers as well. I couldn't figure out what was different there. Give him his whiskers. And he's got little bits in his ears here as well. I don't know what's happened with my lamp black here, but it looks as if he's got like a grey sideburn and he's actually bald. You know, looks like he's got a grandpa hairdo. Did not do that intentionally. I kind of wish I'd made him really happy now because he doesn't look happy at all. The other thing that they've done as well is they've added a white highlight here, and there's no mention of it in the instructions, which is kind of annoying as well. And this happens a lot. So because the black ink pen to finish the details on the face, ears and paws, that is the last thing that it actually says. So if we were to do that, then this is what our little guy would look like. And he's quite cute, to be perfectly honest. But there are things in this image here that are not in this image here. And we're going to rectify that as quickly as possible. I've got one of these little Uniposca PC1MR. So this is a little tiny tip on it. Little highlight on his eyes. Now that'll sink in, I'll have to go back over it, but that's basically what she's used. Or maybe it was a gel pen, something like that. Yes, so in terms of the actual tutorial, how do I feel? I think that the steps are simple, clear and easy to follow. And the fact that a picture says 1,000 words definitely helps as well, because there was things that I picked up just looking at the picture that weren't actually in here. Now obviously they do want to keep the actual tutorial steps as simple as possible so that you're not getting lost in a sea of instruction and you end up reading that more than actually painting, because that's not what you want to be doing. It would have been nice if they'd just added in the finishing touches about using a white paint pen or a white gel pen or something. There's nothing I hate more than seeing things in a finished state with items that they haven't given you or instructions that they haven't given you. And I used to see it a lot in the unboxing of the subscription boxes. The featured artwork by the featured artist would not be using the supplies that are in the box, and that can be very, very, very disheartening. So for the sake of one extra line, use a white gel pen to add highlights to the eyes and nose. She's showing us in the drawing, so why couldn't she just put that in the bottom of the instructions? I notice she's got another little bit there that I've missed. Overall though, like, he's turned out pretty cute. Look, if I zoom in on him, look, how can you not love that? He's adorable. It looks a little bit sad. I wish I'd made him happier. But this was a really enjoyable, fun tutorial for me to follow. My only thing is that I'm a bit weirded out about is that the colours, I find this quite strange to the point where it makes me want to go back to the original palette, because, yeah, this just doesn't look anything like mine. Look at the yellow ochre. It's practically orange. My yellow ochre is yellow. The Indian red is fairly close. The burnt sienna again, like what is that? I'll zoom that in a little bit. So this palette seems to be really off, and it's probably to do with the printing on the paper. But it's funny how some are fine and some are not. So yeah, there's that, but I mean, you're not going to be miles off. It's not going to be a carbon copy of the ones that are in the book, but that's just something, if that had been me and I wasn't following that to the letter, I would have added some Indian reds to get this kind of colour. Again, as a more experienced artist, you have the option to do that. So on the whole, I do think that the instructions are pretty good. They are helped along by the fact that there are pictures here, and I find that personally, I am a visual creature, and I find that much more help than the actual writing, but I like the fact that the steps are simple and clear and easy to follow. The paper has held up fairly well. It wouldn't be my first choice of watercolour paper, but for being in a book like this, it's actually really good quality. There is a bit of buckling. It's not crazy. I say you can actually see it better on the other side of the paper there. You can just see where it's indented in a couple of places. This penguin looks so cute as well. And this is the thing, see now that I've finished this, I actually want to go and like keep going. I want to paint some more stuff in this, because they're really short, they're easy to follow, and yeah, there's actually a lot of joy in this. I kind of get the feeling that this would be the sort of book that, see if it was a really wet Sunday afternoon and you were just wanting to chill out, you could sit here with the supplies that I've got now, and you could do like 5 or 6 pages and just, you know, give them 5 minutes to dry in between, and you could really cozy down with this. And one of the reasons I feel like that is I feel like the whole aesthetic of this book, the fact that it's cozy, you've got the hand holding, it's very simple, and everything's pretty cute. Because Dana's art style is very gentle. It's a very soft and by proxy a very comforting art style. So the aesthetic of the whole book is like, you're safe here, you know, come on, we'll hold your hand, we'll help you, and you can try these things out, and you're going to make something that you're going to be satisfied with. That's the kind of feeling that emanates from this book for me, and feelings have a lot to do with stuff like this, certainly from the point of view of whether or not you go back and use it again. And the more love that you feel with things like that, the more likely you are to go back. So with that information out there now, like I'm flicking through to think to myself, you know, see, once I finish filming this video, I might actually just do another one. I quite like to do one of the line and wash ones, because I like line and wash. Oh, bottled me. Yeah, see, right, okay, see, this is what I'm saying. So let's get down to brass tacks then. This book is currently retailing on Amazon UK for about £13, give or take. I'll leave some conversions up here. The price of this book will differ depending on where you are in the world. The recommended retail price on the back, interestingly, now we all know to ignore completely recommended retail prices, but it is $23.99 US. Again, I'll leave some conversions here for those of us that don't use US dollars. Yeah, so for £13, UK, Great British pounds. Do I think this book is worth it? And the answer is 100% absolutely yes. There are very few things I dislike about this book. The only thing that I don't like, and it is only one thing, is this would not be my first choice of watercolour paper. And for someone who is confident in sketching out their own ideas, I would quite often, I think, prefer to use one of my watercolour sketchbooks and just sketch. I mean, the likes of that, how simple is that? I would be comfortable sketching them out on my own paper. So but again, that's the kind of plus point of something like this. If you do have the ability and you're quite comfortable sketching out, then you can use your own watercolour paper. So there we go. I've just turned the one thing I didn't like about the book into something that's actually good. You're getting 50 watercolour projects for that £13. Everything can be kept in one place, and at no point is there anything outrageous being asked for. If you don't have these specific colours, that was so cute when we just went past there. He's like, "Hi, I'm here. My little otter. Hello." Yeah, if you look at the introduction and the master colour chart, and several of these colours can be mixed. So do you know what I mean? You don't need a lot to get started. Some sort of mixing palette now, an old plate, or even a plastic lid from an ice cream tub or something like that will do. Cheap paint brushes, which I've just demonstrated. I used a cheap brush. Dana is going with the absolute bare basics, a fine liner. So I just feel that this is a lovely way to do a bit of watercolouring if you are a beginner, or if you're looking for an easy way to paint. Then this absolutely has it for you 100%. And there's something very satisfying about this. And I can imagine, I'm a sort of completionist. I can imagine getting a lot of satisfaction out of finishing all the projects in one book and just having it as a finished book. I think that would really appeal to me generally. But yeah, you're getting a lot for your money for £13, and I would absolutely recommend this book to anyone for learning to do a bit of watercolouring, or even if you just like colouring and would rather do it in paint. This is a great book to get going with. Yeah, so that is it for today, guys. Overall, Dana Fox's Watercolour with Me in the Ocean gets a cave thumbs up, definitely. I would love to know what you think about this book. I would also love to know what you think about this type of video, and would you like to see me try out more art tutorial books so that you can decide whether or not it's worth it? Please let me know down in the comments. That's really important feedback. And I hope you've enjoyed yourself today. I've certainly had good fun. And this little dude's actually turned out quite cute, which I wasn't really expecting, to be honest. So thanks very much for coming and hanging out. Appreciate it as always. Please stay safe and take care of each other, and I will see you back in the cave on Sunday for another video. So have a great day, everyone. Bye bye for now.